And let me first start by thanking you for tuning into our program today. Today's investigation will be about the most notorious serial killer of the 20th century. This serial killer has been investigated for over a decade now, and there is still minimal knowledge about him or her. Yes, I'm talking about the pop star hacker. Excuse me. We've investigated many serial killers in the past, such as Charles Manson, Ted Bundy, Jeffrey Dahmer, and John Wayne Gacy, just to name a few. But this killer is different. The pop star hacker is the most well-known, most mysterious, most modern, and most deadly of them all. The strange thing is, we know nothing about the killer. Just a few things that may be true about the killer. At first, the police really didn't connect the murders until they noticed that all of them victims had two major things in common. All of the 35 victims, yes, the 35 victims, so far have resembled famous pop stars, mostly looking like Christina Aguilera and Britney Spears. The other thing they noticed was at first, the police really didn't connect any of the murders until they noticed all the victims had the same two major things in common. All of the 35, yes, 35 victims, so far have resembled famous pop stars, mostly resembling Britney Spears and Christina Aguilera. The other thing they noticed was that every last one of the victims was killed the same way. First, they were severely beaten to death. Then, the killers ripped all of their blonde hair out and left them for dead, but not first leaving before carving a strange star on the back of the victim's body. At one of the crime scenes, they found one of the notes left by the serial killer before he attacked the victim. Such as a serial.
Get down.
I was itching my wrist, gang. We have done a thorough investigation and have found something very interesting. About 20 years ago, another pop star, we'll call her number one because we can't release her real name, was found murdered in her dressing room, in the same fashion as the victims of the pop star hacker. Shortly after her death, her manager confessed, besides being a pop star, number one was also a prostitute on the side. We have also found that she had an illegitimate child, whose name and sex we have been unable to identify, that was put into foster care after its mother's death. Police had written it off as a beloved lover's quarrel, but after now reopening the case, on the suspicion that maybe this child death We have done a thorough investigation, and we have found something very interesting for you to know. About 20 years ago, a famous pop star, we'll call her number one because we can't release her real name, was found murdered in her dressing room in the same fashion as the victims of the pop star hacker. Shortly after her death, her manager confessed in an interview that besides being a famous pop star, she was also a prostitute on the side. We have also found she had an illegitimate child, which name and sex we were still unable to identify, that was put into foster care after its mother's death. Police have written it off of the beloved star's murder as a lover's quarrel, but now have reopened the case on the suspicion that maybe this death was the same as... I was trying to improvise, but I lost. We have done a thorough investigation and have found out something very interesting for you to know. About 20 years ago, another famous pop star, we'll call her number one because her real name cannot be released, was found murdered in her dressing room in the same fashion of the victims of the pop star hacker. Shortly after her death, her manager in a meeting confessed that besides being a famous pop star, she was also a prostitute on the side. We have also found that she had an illegitimate child whose name and sex we were unable to identify, that was put into foster care after its mother's death. Police had written off the death as a lover's quarrel, but have now reopened the case on the suspicion that maybe the lost child may have something to do with the death. Research shows that traumatic childhood events, such as prostitution and neglect, can drive a child over the edge with devastating results, such as a serial killer. Da da da! I myself have found out which orphanage her child was taken to. I went there to collect information, but they had none. All of their old files had vanished with the burning down of the building in 1978. They know it was number one's child that caused the fire, but no one can recall the name of the child. Every interest in fire, in death, is also a sign of a disturbance in the child's mind and is a sign of problems such as serial killers later on in life. Police are almost sure the pop star hacker is the same hacker who killed number one back in 1977. We have had an excellent opportunity to interview two stars whom the victims resemble. Christina Aguilera stated,
Please stand by for technical difficulties.
We interrupt your regularly scheduled broadcast to bring you this important announcement. Apparently it wasn't a very Merry Christmas for these two 17-year-old girls. Police have found two more victims who have fallen to the pop star hacker. That both were found in the upstairs bedroom of this house on 26th and Sunset Boulevard at 7:30 p.m. We can't tell you much about the victims. All we know right now is that they were victims of the pop star hacker. We'll bring you more as the story unfolds.
Spears has claimed that one fan... Okay, his clothes kind
I'm sorry, I'll be okay.
remember this forever.
Oh, shit. Okay, are we ready? Are you ready?
Yeah.
You tried to
Now my nose is burning. Spears claimed that one fan found her after a show, backed her into a corner, and demanded an autograph. Security removed the... Spears claimed that one fan found her after a show, backed her into a corner, and demanded an autograph. Security removed the offender from the premises and they ran off. Spears says she was so horrified that she can't remember anything about the description of the person. But I think she's just stupid. We were also lucky enough to catch number one's manager outside of the concert hall, and we stopped him for a brief interview. He has told us that her child was very abnormal, bringing dead animals to number one shows, and a few times even throwing those dead animals at her. This is another sign of future serial killers. Serial killers see animals as practice for the real thing. Please excuse us for all technical difficulties. Your show will return shortly.
We're sorry for this interruption, but we have late breaking news. A suspect has been apprehended at the scene of the crime. This might be them. This might be the pop star hacker. We have no further information to be released yet until further notice. Now back to your scheduled programming.
Are you ready? We still have much information to uncover about this morbid individual, but we won't give up until the persecutor is stopped. And I mean stopped. This police investigation still have no suspects in custody, but are still trying to find more clues as to who it could be, or at least a vague description. So far, all the clues have pointed towards a male suspect, but you never know. Maybe the first female serial killer ever, but I doubt it.
It didn't do anything.
Hey Ben! You're on!
Oh, excuse me. Thank you for tuning into our show today. And if you have any further information on the show that we aired today, our number is 1-800-KILLERS. 1-800-KILLERS. Thank you for tuning in tonight, and have a nice evening.
We on? We're on? This is live? Ladies and gentlemen, we have exciting news to reveal to you. The pop star hacker has been identified. The police have a positive suspect who has confessed to all the murders and now wishes to apologize to the world. The police are bringing the suspect over here. And in case you're wondering, we have been allowed to release their name. The pop star hacker is really...
Now we can zoom out. Okay. Excuse the technical difficulties. Your regularly scheduled program will return as soon as possible.